A Werewolf Romance Audiobook. Written by Gracie, Werewolf Storybank. The smell hit me first, burnt sugar and desperation, thick enough to taste. The kitchen of Le Palais d'Or wasn't just hot, it was a pressure cooker of egos and third-degree burns waiting to happen. I pressed my back against the cold steel of the walk-in freezer, trying to catch my breath, while Chef Laurent screamed at someone in rapid-fire French. My hands were shaking. Not from the cold. From rage. 3 years. 3 years of clawing my way up from prep cook to sous chef in one of Paris's most prestigious restaurants, and it all came crashing down because I refused to sleep with the head chef. Rhiannon. Laurent's voice cut through my thoughts like a cleaver. You're fired. Pack your knives and get out of my kitchen.
Just like that.
No explanation to the staff. No severance. Just the cold satisfaction in his eyes as he watched me stuff my knife roll with trembling fingers. The other cooks wouldn't even look at me. Cowards. Every single one of them knew what Laurent had tried to do in the wine cellar last week. They'd heard me tell him no. They'd seen the bruises on my wrist where he'd grabbed me. But I was the one leaving. I pushed through the back door into the narrow Parisian alley, the late afternoon sun doing nothing to warm the ice in my chest. My phone buzzed. Rent was due in 4 days. My savings account was laughing at me. If you could call 200 euros savings. I pulled my worn jacket tighter, the October wind cutting through the thin fabric. My grandmother's voice echoed in my head, the same thing she told me when I left our small village in Scotland for culinary school. Rhiannon Evermere, you got fire in your blood and magic in your hands. Don't let any man snuff that out. Too late, Gran. I'm already smoke. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Miss Evermere? A woman's voice, crisp and professional with a slight German accent. My name is Petra Blackwood. I represent a private client seeking an executive chef for an estate outside Berlin. Your name came highly recommended. I stopped walking. Recommended by whom? Chef Marguerite Dubois. She said you were the most talented chef she'd ever trained, and that you had integrity. A rare quality. Chef Marguerite. My culinary school mentor, the only person in this industry who'd ever actually believed in me. I'm listening, I said carefully. The position is live-in. Full accommodations provided at the Blackwood estate. The salary is 30,000 euros per month. I almost dropped my phone. That was more than I made in 6 months at Le Palais d'Or. What's the catch? Because there was always a catch. The client is extremely private. You would sign an NDA. And
she paused.
He has very specific dietary requirements. The previous chef couldn't accommodate them. Specific dietary requirements. Rich people code for impossible to please. But 30,000 euros a month. When do I start? 72 hours later, I was standing in front of a fortress disguised as a mansion on the outskirts of Berlin. The Blackwood estate sprawled across what looked like several football fields, all dark stone and Gothic arches that screamed old money and older secrets. A sleek black car had picked me up from Tegel Airport. The driver hadn't said a single word during the hour-long drive. Just handed me a leather folder with my NDA and a detailed list of dietary requirements that made my head spin. No silver utensils. No garlic. No wolfsbane. Who the hell even had access to wolfsbane? All meat must be sourced from specific organic farms. Meals must be prepared during specific moon phases for optimal nutrition. I'd cooked for plenty of eccentric millionaires. This was next level. The massive oak doors swung open before I could knock. Petra Blackwood stood in the doorway, tall, severe, with steel-gray hair pulled into a tight bun. Her eyes were an unusual amber color that seemed to catch the light. Miss Evermere, welcome to Blackwood House. She stepped aside, and I walked into a foyer that could have swallowed my entire Paris apartment. The Alpha King will see you shortly. First, let me show you to your quarters and the kitchen. The Alpha King? I try to keep my voice neutral. That's quite a title. Petra's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Mr. Blackwood prefers formality. You'll understand once you meet him. She led me through a maze of corridors, all dark wood and oil paintings of stern-looking people with those same unusual amber eyes. The kitchen, when we finally reached it, stole my breath. It was a chef's dream. Professional-grade equipment that made Le Palais d'Or look like a food truck. Marble countertops. A wood-fired oven that probably cost more than a car. And windows. Massive floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a wild garden that seemed to stretch forever into the forest beyond. "The garden is yours to use," Petra said, watching my reaction. "Everything growing there is organic and has been cultivated specifically for the estate's needs. You'll find herbs and vegetables you won't see anywhere else." I ran my hand along the cool marble counter, my chef's brain already spinning with possibilities. The Alpha King dines at 8 sharp every evening. He expects creativity, but nothing that violates the dietary restrictions. Petra chose her words carefully. Particular about his food. The last 3 chefs didn't last a month. "Why?" I asked bluntly. "They were afraid of him."
She met my eyes.
"Are you afraid, Miss Evermere?" I thought about Lauren's hand on my wrist, about being broke and blacklisted in Paris, about my grandmother telling me to never let anyone make me small. "I'm afraid of plenty of things," I said. "But some demanding rich guy with weird food rules isn't one of them." This time, Petra's smile was real.
"Good.
"You'll need that spine. He'll be here in an hour. I suggest you prepare something simple to introduce yourself." First impressions matter to the Alpha King. She left me alone in that enormous kitchen, and for the first time in days, I felt something other than despair. I felt ready. I decided on a test, something simple enough to execute perfectly, but complex enough to show skill. Pan-seared venison with a blackberry reduction, roasted root vegetables from the garden, and fresh herb focaccia. If this Alpha King wanted to judge me, I'd give him something worth judging. The venison was perfect. Ruby red center, crispy herb crust. The blackberries had reduced into a sauce so rich and complex it tasted like autumn itself. I'd found wild rosemary and thyme in the garden that smelled more potent than anything I'd used in Paris. At exactly 8 o'clock, I heard footsteps. Heavy, measured. The kind of walk that belonged to someone who owned everything they touched. I kept my back turned, plating the final dish with steady hands. Professional. Confident. I'd worked for Michelin star chefs who'd made grown men cry. I could handle one eccentric millionaire. Your predecessor lasted 3 weeks before she ran screaming from the estate. The voice was deep, rough-edged, with an accent I couldn't quite place. Let's see if you have more spine then. He stopped mid-sentence. I turned around, and my entire world tilted sideways. It couldn't be. It wasn't possible. But those eyes. Storm gray shot through with amber, the kind of eyes that had haunted my dreams for 12 years, were unmistakable. Evander? His face had gone completely white. The plate he'd been reaching for clattered against the marble counter. Rhiannon. My name came out like a wound. What are you doing here? What was I doing here? What was I doing here? I'm your new chef, apparently. My voice sounded strange, distant. Though if I'd known the Alpha King was Evander Blackwood, I would have told Petra exactly where she could shove her 30,000 euros a month. He flinched. Actually flinched, like I'd slapped him.
Good.
12 years. 12 years since our senior prom, since he'd picked me up in his father's car with flowers and promises. Since we'd danced under terrible streamers in the school gymnasium, and he'd kissed me like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. Since he'd driven me home, walked me to the door and whispered, "I'll call you tomorrow. I promise." He never called. He disappeared. No explanation, no goodbye. Just gone, like I'd meant nothing at all. And now he was standing in this palace of a kitchen, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my culinary school tuition, looking at me like I was a ghost. "You need to leave." His voice had gone cold, controlled. The warmth I'd heard 12 years ago had been locked away somewhere I couldn't reach. "Petra will pay you for your time. This won't work." "Excuse me?" The rage I'd been swallowing since Laurent fired me came roaring back. You hire me, fly me to Berlin, and now you're firing me because what? Because we went to one dance together 12 years ago. It's not that simple. Then make it simple, Evander. Or should I call you Alpha King? I crossed my arms. Because from where I'm standing, you're just another coward who runs away when things get complicated. Something flashed in his eyes. Anger.
Pain.
Something wild and dangerous that made the air in the kitchen feel suddenly charged. You don't understand what you're talking about. His voice had dropped to a growl. Literally a growl, the sound rumbling from somewhere deep in his chest. Then explain it to me. I didn't back down. Couldn't back down. I'd spent 3 years being small and quiet in Lauren's kitchen, swallowing my pride to keep my job. I was done being small. Explain why you vanished. Explain why you're looking at me like I'm the problem when you're the one who ghosted me like I meant nothing. Because you did mean something. The words exploded out of him. You meant everything, Rhiannon. And that's exactly why I had to leave. The kitchen fell silent, except for our heavy breathing. Evander ran a hand through his dark hair, longer now than it had been in high school, shot through with silver at the temples. He looked exhausted, haunted. I couldn't drag you into this life. His voice had gone quiet, defeated. I turned 18 3 days after prom. My father told me what I really was, what our family was. And I knew that if I stayed, if I kept seeing you, I'd either have to tell you the truth or lie to you forever. And you deserved better than both of those options. What you really were, I repeated slowly. You mean the werewolf thing? His head snapped up. How did you? I'm not an idiot, Evander. The dietary restrictions, the Alpha King title, the weird NDA about never revealing anything I see in this house, Petra's amber eyes. That sound you just made that was definitely not human. I picked up the plate of venison I'd prepared. Also, this garden has wolfsbane growing in a secured section. Nobody cultivates wolfsbane unless they're either trying to poison werewolves or protect themselves from them. He stared at me like I'd just performed a magic trick. You're taking this remarkably well, he said finally. My grandmother used to tell stories about the wolves in the highlands, about men who could change their skin when the moon was full, about old magic that ran in blood and bone. I set the plate down in front of him. I thought they were fairy tales. Guess I was wrong. And you're not afraid? I met his eyes, those impossible storm gray eyes that had never quite left my memory. I've spent the last 3 years being afraid, I said quietly. Afraid of losing my job. Afraid of disappointing people. Afraid I wasn't good enough. You know what I learned? Being afraid doesn't protect you from anything. It just makes you smaller. I pushed the plate closer to him.
Eat.
Tell me if I pass your test. Then we'll figure out if I'm staying or going. Evander looked at the food like it might bite him. Then slowly, he picked up his fork. The first bite stopped mid-chew. His eyes widened slightly. He took another bite, then another. I watched his entire body language change, the tension in his shoulders easing, his breathing deepening, that wild, dangerous energy settling into something calmer. This is... He looked up at me, and for just a moment, I saw the boy from prom night. The one who'd looked at me like I hung the moon. This is incredible. I know. No false modesty. I was a damn good chef, and we both knew it. The venison, it's not just cooked perfectly. It's calming my wolf. He said it like a confession. How did you know? I didn't. I just cooked what felt right. I leaned against the counter. Your wolf? That's what you call it. It's complicated. The wolf is part of me, but also separate, like a second consciousness. He took another bite, and I watched that calmness deepen. Most food just sustains us. But this is speaking to something deeper. The rosemary, the blackberries, these are plants that grew wild where our kind first walked. You're not just feeding my body. You're feeding something older. Something warm uncurled in my chest. Pride, maybe. Or something more dangerous. So, I passed the test. You're not staying, Rhiannon. But his voice had lost its certainty. It's not safe. I'm not safe. Because you're a werewolf. Because I'm the Alpha King. Because I have enemies who would hurt anyone close to me to get to me. Because 12 years ago I made the mistake of caring about you, and I've spent every day since then trying to keep you safe by staying away. His jaw tightened. And now you're here in my house, and every instinct I have is screaming at me to lock you in this kitchen and never let you leave. That's incredibly creepy and possessive. I know. Also kind of hot, which is confusing. The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. I've missed you. Every single day for 12 years, I've missed you. My heart was hammering so hard, I was sure he could hear it. Then stop trying to send me away. Rhiannon. I need this job, Evander. I lost everything in Paris. My apartment, my career, my reputation. I took a breath. A powerful man tried to force himself on me, and when I said no, he destroyed my life. So I'm done running. I'm done letting powerful men make decisions for me. If you want me to leave, you're going to have to physically throw me out. And something tells me your wolf wouldn't like that very much. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, he set down his fork. 1 month trial, he said. You stay in the guest wing. You never go into the east wing after dark. And if I tell you to run, you run. No questions. Agreed. It wasn't a request. It was an alpha giving an order. I should have been insulted. Instead, I felt something dangerous and thrilling coil in my stomach. Agreed, I said. On one condition. What? You finish your dinner. I didn't slave over a hot stove for you to let it get cold. This time he actually smiled. A real smile that transformed his entire face, making him look younger and infinitely more dangerous to my self-control. Yes, chef, he said, and picked up his fork. Hello, my wonderful pack members. Please comment where you're watching from and buckle up. This story gets wild. Don't forget to hit subscribe because Rhiannon and Evander's journey is just beginning. Chapter 1. The first week at Blackwood House passed in a strange, suspended reality. I cooked. Evander ate. We circled each other like magnets fighting their own attraction. I learned his patterns quickly. He woke before dawn and disappeared into the forest for hours, running with his wolf. Petra explained when I asked. He'd return exhausted and ravenous, tracking mud through the kitchen while I prepared his breakfast. You're getting dirt on my clean floor, I said the third morning, not looking up from the eggs I was whisking. It's my floor, he pointed out, but there was warmth in his voice. Not between 6 a.m. and midnight. During those hours, this kitchen is mine. House rules. I slid a perfectly plated breakfast omelet in front of him, wild mushrooms from the garden, aged Gruyere, fresh herbs.
Eat.
He ate. He always ate, his wolf purring, actually purring, with contentment. You know, he said around a mouthful of omelet, I'm supposed to be the one giving orders around here. You can give all the orders you want. Doesn't mean I'll follow them. I pour myself coffee, the good stuff I'd found in the pantry. How's your wolf this morning? Calmer than he's been in months. He studied me over his coffee cup. You're doing something to the food. Something beyond just cooking it. I'm doing my job.
No.
It's more than that. He set down his cup. My wolf recognizes you, Rhiannon. He's claimed you as pack. I'm not a werewolf.
No.
But you're mine. He said it simply, like stating a fact. My wolf knew it 12 years ago. That's why I had to leave. I was 18, barely in control, and my wolf wanted to claim you right there in your parents' driveway. If I'd stayed, I would have told you everything. Dragged you into this world before you were ready. And now you walked into this world yourself. And my wolf is done fighting it. My heart was doing complicated things in my chest. Evander. The kitchen door slammed open. A woman strode in, tall, beautiful, with midnight hair and those same amber eyes. She wore a designer suit like armor and looked at me like I was something unpleasant she'd found on her shoe. So, you're the human my brother hired to play chef. Her voice was cold, mocking. How quaint. Lyra. Evander's voice had gone flat. What are you doing here? I live here, dear brother. Or, did you forget? She circled me slowly, predatory. Though I see you've been keeping secrets. You didn't mention your new chef was an old flame. That's none of your concern, isn't it? Lyra smiled, sharp and cruel. The Alpha King taking up with a human cook? The council will be fascinated. Especially after you've spent years refusing to take a proper mate. Get out of my kitchen. I said it quietly, but something in my voice made her pause. Excuse me? You heard me. This is my space. You're not welcome here. I crossed my arms. And if you have a problem with your brother's hiring choices, take it up with him. Not me. For a moment, I thought she might actually attack me. Her eyes flashed gold, her lips pulling back from teeth that suddenly looked too sharp. Then Evander was between us, moving faster than should have been possible. Enough. His voice had dropped into that inhuman growl. Lyra, leave.
Now.
She bared her teeth at him, an actual snarl, then spun on her designer heels and stalked out. The kitchen fell silent. I'm sorry, Evander said quietly. My sister is difficult. She hates me. She hates everyone. But yes, she particularly hates you. He turned to face me. Lyra expected to be named Alpha when our father died. Instead, it went to me, the older son. She's never forgiven me for it. Why do I get the feeling I just painted a target on my back? Because you did. He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cut my cheek. The gesture was so gentle it made my throat tight. But I won't let her hurt you.
I
swear it. I can take care of myself. I know you can. You're the strongest person I've ever met. His thumb traced my cheekbone. But let me protect you anyway. Please. I should have stepped back. Should have reminded him about professional boundaries and not getting involved with my employer. Instead, I leaned into his touch. Okay, I whispered. The next 2 weeks blurred together in a haze of cooking, stolen glances, and growing tension. Evander started staying later after dinner, sitting at the kitchen counter while I prepped for the next day. We really talked, about everything we'd missed in 12 years apart. I told him about culinary school in Lyon, about the brutal hours and even more brutal chefs, about Laurent and the wine cellar and losing everything I'd built. He told me about taking over the pack at 21 when his father died suddenly. About the weight of responsibility, the constant political battles, the loneliness of being Alpha King. I can't afford weaknesses, he said one night, watching me knead bread dough. Every decision I make affects hundreds of wolves. If the other alphas sense vulnerability, they'll challenge me. And challenges are fought to the death. That's barbaric. That's nature. We're not human, Rhiannon. We're predators wearing human faces. But his voice was sad. It's why I can't have a mate. Can't have a family. Can't have. He stopped himself. Can't have what? I asked quietly. You. The word hung between us. I can't have you. No matter how much my wolf demands it. No matter how much I want it. I set down the dough and crossed to him. Flour dusted my hands, my apron, probably my face. What if I want it too? His eyes had gone that molten amber color. Don't say that unless you mean it. Because if you give me hope. I kissed him. It wasn't planned. Wasn't smart. But I was so tired of being careful, of protecting myself, of being afraid. For a heartbeat, he froze. Then he was kissing me back, fierce and desperate, and 12 years of longing poured into one moment. His hands tangled in my hair. Mine fisted in his shirt. The kiss tasted like pine forests and wild things in Coming Home. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were full wolf, golden and luminous. Rhiannon. His voice was rough. If we do this, there's no going back. My wolf will claim you. And once you're claimed, you're mine. Forever. Do you understand what that means? Explain it to me. It means every wolf in this house will know you're under my protection. It means other packs will see you as my weakness. It means Lyra will do everything in her power to destroy you. He rested his forehead against mine. It means I will never let you go. Even if you want to leave. Even if you hate me someday. The bond is forever. That's incredibly possessive and unhealthy. I know. Also kind of romantic in a really messed up way. I know that too. I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. I'm not afraid of your sister. I'm not afraid of other packs. And I'm definitely not afraid of forever. I touched his face, feeling the scratch of stubble under my palm. But I need to know, when you left 12 years ago, did you ever think about coming back for me? Pain flashed across his face. Every single day. But I couldn't. My father was dying. The pack was fracturing. Lyra was plotting to take the alpha position. I was barely holding everything together. His hand covered mine. And I told myself you were better off without me. That you'd find someone normal, someone safe, someone who could give you a real life. I don't want normal. I don't want safe. I smiled. I want the impossible werewolf who used to make me mix tapes and left flowers in my locker. I can't believe you remember that. I remember everything about you, Evander Blackwood. He kissed me again, slower this time. Sweeter. A promise instead of a question. When we finally separated, he was smiling, really smiling, open and young and devastatingly handsome. So the Alpha King has claimed his mate, I said lightly, trying to ignore how fast my heart was racing. What happens now? Now I introduce you to the pack properly. As my mate and future Luna Queen. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. They're going to lose their minds.
Good.
I like making an entrance. Chapter 2. The pack gathering was held 3 nights later in Blackwood House's Great Hall, a massive stone room that looked like something out of a medieval castle. Werewolves filled every corner, at least 200 of them, all watching me with varying degrees of suspicion and hostility. I wore a simple black dress and my grandmother's silver necklace, the one thing I'd kept from home. Evander stood beside me in a dark suit, radiating authority. Petra stepped forward, her voice carrying across the hall. The Alpha King has called this gathering to introduce his chosen mate. Rhiannon Evermere, human chef, has been claimed by our Alpha. She will be recognized as Luna Queen and afforded all protections thereof. A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. I heard whispers, saw sideways glances. Then Lyra stepped forward from the crowd, her face a mask of fury. The Alpha King claims a human? Her voice dripped contempt. Our laws are clear. The Alpha must mate within pack lines. A human Luna weakens us all. The laws are outdated, Evander said calmly. And as Alpha King, I have the authority to change them. You have the authority to destroy us. Lyra's eyes had gone gold. A human cannot lead wolves. She cannot protect the pack. She is a liability. She is mine. Evander's voice dropped into that inhuman growl that made every wolf in the room straighten. And anyone who challenges that challenges me. Then I challenge you. Lyra's words fell like stones into water. For the right to lead this pack. For the sake of our survival. The hall erupted. Wolves shouting, some supporting Lyra, others calling her traitor. The sound was deafening. Evander's hand found mine, squeezed once. Lyra, he said quietly, but everyone heard him. Are you certain? You know what a challenge means. I know. Her smile was cruel. One of us leaves this hall dead. Winner takes the pack. She looked at me. And when I win, the human dies too. It can't have any loose ends. Ice flooded my veins. Evander's hand tightened on mine. Rhiannon, go to the kitchen. Lock the doors. Don't come out no matter what you hear. I'm not leaving you.
Please.
He turned to me, and his eyes were already more wolf than man. If I'm fighting, I can't protect you. And if I'm worried about protecting you, I'll lose.
Go.
Let me end this. I wanted to argue, wanted to stay and fight beside him. But I'd be useless in a battle between werewolves. So I ran. I made it to the kitchen and locked every door, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the keys. Through the windows, I could hear sounds from the great hall, snarls, screams, the terrible crunch of breaking bones. I couldn't just hide. Couldn't just wait. So I did what I always did when the world was falling apart. I cooked. I pulled out every calming herb in the garden, lavender, chamomile, valerian root, ground them into a powder, mixed them with honey and a dark beer I found in the cellar, added wild sage and rosemary, both plants sacred to wolves according to my grandmother's stories. The mixture smelled like earth and growing things and ancient magic. I didn't know if it would work. Didn't know if my cooking could truly affect werewolves the way Evander claimed. But I had to try. 20 minutes later, the kitchen door rattled, then splintered. Evander staggered in, covered in blood. His clothes were shredded. Deep claw marks raked his chest and face. But he was alive. Rhiannon. He collapsed against the counter. Lyra's dead. The pack accepted the outcome. You're safe. You're bleeding everywhere. I grabbed clean towels, pressed them against the worst wounds. What do you need? How do I help? Just you. Being here. His eyes were struggling to stay open. The wolf is still riding me hard. Battle fury. I need to calm down before I lose control. I pressed the mug I'd prepared into his hands. Drink this. All of it. He drank without question, trusting me completely. Within minutes, I watched the tension bleed out of his body. His breathing deepened. The gold faded from his eyes, leaving them storm gray and exhausted. What did you give me? He whispered. Calm, I said simply, in liquid form. He pulled me into his arms, careful of his injuries, and buried his face in my hair. I killed my sister tonight. For you. I know. My voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I'm not. His arms tightened. She would have killed you, Rhiannon. Without hesitation. I'd kill 100 more to keep you safe. We stayed like that for a long time, two broken people holding each other together in a blood-splattered kitchen. Chapter 3. The next month passed in a strange, new reality. I was Luna, queen of the Blackwood Pack, which mostly meant people stared at me during pack gatherings and whispered behind my back. Evander was different around me now, more protective, more possessive, more openly affectionate. The wolves were slowly accepting me. I'd started cooking for the whole pack twice a week, massive feasts that left everyone calm and satisfied. My food was having an effect on them, we all knew it. The pack fights had decreased. The territorial aggression had mellowed. I was pack mother through my cooking, and they were starting to respect it, but something was wrong. Petra had been acting strange, taking calls in hushed voices, disappearing for hours, avoiding my eyes during pack meetings. I finally cornered her in the garden one afternoon while I was harvesting herbs. Petra.
Talk to me.
What's going on? She looked at me for a long moment, her amber eyes sad. You should have never come here, Rhiannon. I thought if I brought you here, he'd finally be happy. But I only put a target on your back. What are you talking about? Lyra wasn't working alone. The words came out in a rush. She had allies. The Council of Alphas. They've been planning to overthrow Evander for years. They want to replace him with someone more traditional. Someone who'll enforce the old ways. My blood went cold. Why are you telling me this? Because they contacted me. They know I'm Evander's second in command. They know I have access to everything in this house. She looked away. They offered me the position of Alpha if I helped them. And I said yes. The world tilted. What? I've been feeding them information for 2 months. Since before you even arrived. Tears were sliding down her face. I told them about you. About Evander claiming a human mate. That's why Lyra challenged him. It was supposed to weaken him, make the pack doubt his judgment. I couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
You've been betraying him. All this time. I didn't want to. She grabbed my arms. But they have my daughter, Rhiannon. My Saskia. They took her 3 months ago and said if I didn't help them, they'd kill her.
She's only 16.
She's all I have left of my mate. So you sold out Evander to save her. I sold out everyone to save her. Petra's voice broke. And now they're coming. Tomorrow night, during the new moon when Evander is at his weakest. They're going to attack the estate. They're going to kill him. And they're going to kill you too, because you represent everything they're fighting against. I yanked my arms free. I have to warn him. He'll kill me. Petra's voice was flat. The punishment for treason is death. He won't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Your daughter. My daughter is already dead. She said it with terrible certainty. They never intended to return her.
I know that now.
I've been feeding them information, and they've been feeding me lies. Then help us. I grabbed her shoulders. Help us stop them. Help us save Evander and the pack. It's not too late. It's been too late since the moment I said yes. But something flickered in her eyes. Hope, maybe. Or the last gasp of loyalty. What would you have me do? Tell me everything. Every detail you've given them. Every plan they've made. Every weakness they think they can exploit. I straighten my spine. And then we're going to cook them a feast they'll never forget. We told Evander that night. I held his hand while Petra essayed everything, her voice steady even as tears streamed down her face. I watched Evander's face turn to stone. Watched the betrayal cut through him like a silver blade. You gave them access codes to the estate, he said quietly. Too quietly. You told them about the weapons vault. You mapped out the patrol routes. Yes. Petra didn't flinch. I did all of that. For 3 months, you looked me in the eye every single day and lied to me. Yes. And your daughter? His voice cracked on that word. Saskia? They sent me a photo of her body 2 days ago. Petra's hands were shaking now. Dumped in a forest outside Munich. They killed her a month ago, but kept me working for them with promises she was still alive. The sound Evander made wasn't human. Pure anguish. Raw and terrible. Petra. My voice cut through his grief. Tell him the rest. About the poison. Evander's head snapped up. Petra took a shaky breath. The council is sending a representative tomorrow afternoon. Elias Stormborn, Alpha of the Munich Pack. He's supposed to meet with you to discuss pack politics. But it's a trap. His second-in-command will poison your wine during the meeting. Wolfsbane extract, slow acting. By the time the attack starts at midnight, you'll be too weak to shift. Too weak to fight. How do you know this? Evander demanded. Because I'm the one who is supposed to put the wolfsbane in the wine. Petra met his eyes. But I'm not going to. I'm going to help you stop them instead. Even if you kill me for it afterward. The kitchen fell silent except for the ticking of the old clock on the wall.
Evander looked at me.
What are you thinking? I'm thinking, I said slowly, that if they're expecting a poisoned alpha, we should give them exactly that. But not the way they're planning. Chapter 4. The next day passed in a blur of careful preparation. Petra fed her council contacts exactly what they wanted to hear. Evander had drunk the poisoned wine. He was weakening. Everything was going according to plan. Meanwhile, I cooked. I'd spent the morning in the wild garden, harvesting plants I'd only read about in my grandmother's old journals. Monk's hood for confusion. Belladonna for hallucination. Hemlock for weakness. All poisonous to humans, but to werewolves? Just deeply, brutally unpleasant. And then the antidotes, the calming herbs I'd been using for weeks, amplified and concentrated. Mixed with Evander's blood, given willingly, though he looked at me like I was insane when I asked. Baked into bread that smelled like pack and home and safety. You're sure this will work? Evander asked for the 3rd time, watching me knead the dough. No, I admitted. But your grandmother's journals say that pack magic runs strongest through food shared willingly between Alpha and Luna. And I'm your mate. You're Luna. So, theoretically, you're going to poison an entire war party of werewolves with baked goods. When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But he was smiling. It's also brilliant. And if it works, every alpha in Europe is going to be terrified of you.
Good.
They should be. I shaped the dough into rounds. How many are coming? Petra estimates 40 wolves. All experienced fighters.
His jaw tightened.
If this doesn't work, it'll work. I said it with more confidence than I felt. Trust me. I do. He pulled me close, careful of my flower-covered hands. I trust you more than anyone in my life. Even after Petra.
He stopped.
I should kill her. Pack law demands it. Pack law is stupid. Rhiannon. She lost her daughter, Evander. They murdered her child and used her grief as a weapon. Yes, she betrayed you. But she's also trying to make it right. I looked up at him. You're the Alpha King. You make the laws. So change this one. He studied my face for a long moment, then kissed my forehead. You're going to be a terror as Luna Queen. You have no idea. They came at midnight, just as Petra had predicted. 40 wolves melted out of the forest, moving with predatory grace toward Blackwood House. They bypassed the guards easily. Petra's information had told them exactly where to go. They gathered in the great hall, confident and hungry. Elias Stormborn stood at their center, a massive wolf with frost-white hair and ice-blue eyes. He looked at Evander, with barely concealed contempt. Alpha King. His voice dripped mockery. You look unwell. Perhaps you should sit down before the meeting? I'm fine, Evander said, his voice perfectly weak. He swayed slightly. Perfect acting. Though I admit this has been a difficult day. Perhaps some refreshment before we discuss business? I stepped forward from the shadows, wearing a simple dress and my grandmother's necklace, carrying a massive tray of fresh-baked bread. I've prepared food for our guests, I said sweetly. A traditional Blackwood welcome. Bread and salt, shared between packs. Elias's eyes narrowed. How thoughtful. The bread smelled incredible, rosemary and honey and home. I watched the wolves' nostrils flare, saw hunger war with suspicion. It's tradition, I pressed. To refuse the Alpha's hospitality is to declare yourself enemy. I met Elias's eyes. Are you our enemy, Alpha Stormborn? He was trapped, and he knew it. To refuse would be to admit he'd come for battle, not negotiation. Of course not. His smile was all teeth. We'd be honored to share your bread, Luna Queen. I handed the first piece to Evander. He ate it slowly, maintaining eye contact with Elias the entire time. Showing trust. Showing that the food was safe. Then I moved through the crowd, offering bread to each wolf. They ate. All of them. Some reluctantly, some eagerly. The herbs I'd baked into the dough were subtle. They'd taste nothing but warmth and welcome. It took exactly 7 minutes for the poison to hit. The first wolf stumbled, confusion clouding his eyes. Then another. Then 5 more. Within minutes, the entire war party was swaying, their wolves fighting for control as the belladonna and monkshood scrambled their senses. They couldn't shift, couldn't focus, couldn't fight. Elias realized first. His eyes went wide with rage and fear. What did you do? I fed you, I said simply. Isn't that what a Luna does? She feeds her pack. I stepped closer. But you're not my pack. You're the wolves who came to murder my mate. So, I fed you something special. Evander's weakness vanished like smoke. He straightened to his full height, power radiating from him like heat. You came to my house, he said softly. You plotted to kill me. You murdered Petra's daughter to force her compliance. You threatened my mate. His eyes flashed gold. And now you're going to pay for it. Blackwood Pack warriors melted out of the shadows. 20 of our strongest wolves, all fully alert and ready for battle. The council wolves tried to fight. But, disoriented and weakened, they didn't stand a chance. It was over in minutes. Elias Stormborn lay at Evander's feet, bleeding from a dozen wounds. Still alive, but barely. You're insane, he gasped. The council will come for you. Every pack in Europe. We'll hear about what happened here tonight, Evander interrupted. They'll hear that you broke guest right. That you came to my home under false pretenses. That you murdered innocents to further your political schemes. He crouched down, voice dropping to a growl. And they'll hear that my human mate poisoned 40 of you with baked bread. They'll hear that a chef brought down the mighty Elias Stormborn. He stood, looking at his gathered pack. Let them go, he said. Let them run back to whatever holes they crawled out of. Let them tell the story of what happens when you threaten the Blackwood pack. The warriors stepped back. The council wolves fled into the night, broken and humiliated. Only Elias remained, too injured to run.
Kill me, he spat.
It's what you want.
No.
Evander's voice was cold. Death is too easy. You're going to live. You're going to go back to Munich. And you're going to tell every alpha who'll listen that the Alpha King has a human Luna who can poison werewolves with cooking. You're going to make them afraid of her.
Why?
Evander looked at me, his eyes soft. Because fear will keep her safe. And her safety is all that matters. Chapter 5. 3 months later, I stood in the Blackwood garden at sunset, my hands buried in rich soil. The herbs were thriving. I'd expanded the garden to twice its original size, adding plants from all over Europe. My phone buzzed. A text from Evander. Council meeting running late. Save me some dinner? I smiled. Always. Don't make me poison them for keeping you. Please don't. I just got them to stop being terrified of you. The sound of footsteps made me look up. Petra approached, carrying a basket of wild mushrooms. Luna, she said softly. Still formal even now. I thought these might work for the stew tonight. Thank you. I took the basket. And Petra? For the 1000th time, you can call me Rhiannon. Old habits. But she almost smiled. How are you feeling? Tired. Nauseous. Emotional. I touched my still flat stomach. Apparently growing a half-werewolf baby is exhausting. Petra's eyes widened. You're pregnant. Found out this morning. Haven't told Evander yet. I grinned. I'm planning to tell him over dinner. Something suitably dramatic. He's going to lose his mind. I know. It's going to be great. We worked in comfortable silence for a while, 2 women who'd been through hell together and come out the other side. Rhiannon, Petra said finally. Thank you. For convincing him not to kill me. For giving me a chance to make things right. You saved us, I said simply. You could have stayed quiet, let them kill Evander, and maybe they would have made you alpha like they promised. But you didn't. You chose to help us, even knowing it might cost you everything. I chose family over fear.
She met my eyes. You taught me that.
Watching you stand up to Evander, to Lyra, to the entire council, you showed me what real strength looks like. I'm just a chef who's really good at poisoning people. You're the Luna Queen who brought peace to a fractured pack. Who turned food into magic. Who made the Alpha King believe in love again. Petra's voice was fierce. Don't diminish that. Before I could respond, a howl split the evening air. Not distress, joy. Celebration. Evander burst from the tree line in wolf form, massive and midnight black, his amber eyes glowing in the fading light. He shifted mid-run. Bones were forming, for melting away until he stood before me in human form. Completely naked. Covered in dirt. Grinning like an idiot. The council voted, he said breathlessly. Unanimously. You're officially recognized as Luna Queen by every pack in Europe. They've agreed to rewrite the old laws. Humans can mate with werewolves. The old ways are over. I launched myself at him, not caring about the dirt or the nakedness or Petra standing 3 feet away. We did it, I whispered against his chest. We actually did it. You did it. He pulled back to look at me, his eyes shining. You changed everything, Rhiannon. You changed me. Speaking of changes, I took his hand and placed it on my stomach. We're going to need to expand this state. Maybe add a nursery. He froze. Rhiannon, are you saying? I'm pregnant. You're going to be a father. Try not to faint. The sound he made was half laugh, half sob. He dropped to his knees and pressed his forehead against my stomach, his shoulders shaking. A baby, he whispered. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, I confirmed, running my fingers through his hair. So you'd better finish that council meeting and get home, because I'm cooking your favorite dinner and telling you all about the insane cravings I'm already having. He stood, lifting me with him, spinning me around until I was dizzy and laughing. I love you, he said fiercely. I loved you 12 years ago when I had to leave you. I loved you when you showed up in my kitchen covered in flour and attitude. I loved you when you poisoned 40 wolves to save me. And I'm going to love you every single day for the rest of our very long lives. Good, I said, kissing him. Because you're stuck with me now. The Alpha King and his chef. Forever. Forever, he agreed, and kissed me again. Petra cleared her throat loudly. I'm still here. And you're still naked, Alpha King. Evander laughed but didn't let me go. Then stop looking and go tell the pack we're celebrating tonight. The Luna Queen is carrying the heir to Blackwood. Petra's grin was fierce and proud. With pleasure. She ran toward the house, already shouting the news. I looked up at Evander. At this impossible man who'd walked away from me once to keep me safe, then fought an entire world to keep me forever. You know, I said thoughtfully, this means I'm going to have to learn to cook for a baby werewolf. Do they have special dietary requirements? Can they eat garlic? What about? He kissed me quiet. We'll figure it out together, he said. Just like we've figured out everything else. One meal at a time. From the house, I could hear the pack beginning to gather. Excited voices, happy howls, the sound of family coming together. Evander took my hand, and we walked toward the lights of Blackwood House, toward home, toward family, toward a future we'd fought for and won. I'd come to Berlin broken and desperate, just looking for a job to survive. Instead, I'd found a pack, a purpose, a love that had waited 12 years to bloom. And as I stepped into the warm glow of the kitchen, my domain, my heart, I knew that every burned bridge, every betrayal, every moment of fear had led me exactly where I was meant to be. The Alpha King had hired me as a chef, but I'd become so much more. I'd become his Luna, his mate, his forever. And our story was just beginning. Thank you for listening to another werewolf romance story here at Gracie Werewolf Story Bank. If you loved Rhiannon and Evander's journey, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what you want to see next. Should we follow their story as new parents? Or would you like a whole new tale? Let me know, my beautiful pack members. Until next time, stay wild, stay hungry, and remember, sometimes the best revenge is a perfectly poisoned dinner.